Good morning. Thank you for joining me for today's Facebook Live. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. If you saw my blog post, which went live at 7 o'clock this morning, which was 3 hours ago, I had said that I was going to make a Valentine's Day version of the cards in my post. And these cards were really fun. The post, this is one where I blog hop with a group of Australian girls, and we have a challenge every month. So this month's challenge was using designer series paper. So let me show you the cards. So that was one of them. And then while I was making this card, of course, I had to try it out to see what it looked like in different colors. So that one was with the Be Mine designer series paper. This one is softly stippled celebration paper. Then I tried it with the Flight and Airy. Now for this card, those two are the designer series paper, and for my third piece I just couldn't find one that I was happy with, so I embossed those pieces and just sponged over them. That embossing folder is also one of the celebration items, and I'm just looking it up so that I can see what it's called. It's the one that goes with that softly sophisticated bundle. And then I did one more, which I did slightly differently, and I'll show you what I did. It's also with the softly stippled designer series paper, but with this one I kept the card base the same color as my layer over here, so I didn't put an extra layer. For these two, it felt like it needed an extra layer. So for our Valentine's Day version, let's see if I can put these here that I can still work while you're seeing them. I'm going to be using the Be Mine Valentine stamp set, and I'm going to use the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. Then the paper, this is another celebration item, and this is, sorry, I'm just laughing at myself because I've checked it about 7 times and I just cannot get the name into my head, so that's why I have my brochure here. It is the Most Adored designer series paper. Now this paper is lovely, and it doesn't necessarily need to be for Valentine's Day. And for this card you can either use whatever you've got on hand, and it is scraps, but it does need to be fairly large scraps just because that punch is quite a big punch. But otherwise, if you have paper that you really want to use, there's nothing to say that you can't go and cut into new pieces of paper. Okay, that's what I did. Now, for my Valentine's Day card, we had a little bit of a problem with the colors, but I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo with Real Red. Okay, now, sorry, I just dropped a hexagon. Pink and red is not normally my go-to color combination, but I figured that seeing that they use it in the paper, it does look okay together. And I was debating about maybe using crumb cake instead of the Real Red, but then when I laid the pieces against it, the crumb cake really looks a bit insipid, so we're going with Real Red. I haven't made this card, so we're going to see how it turns out. Okay? Right, so first up, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that sentiment in the Real Red. Just think I had something on my stamp here. Alright, now that Be Mine Valentine has, I have a dimensional backing. I hope that it's on the back of the stamp and not on the front, but we're going to see that right now when I stamp it. So this has got lovely Valentine's Day greetings, and I really like the font in the stamp set as well. Right, and then of course, we're just going to punch it out. If you're wondering about that, that was just that I knew that this was my scrap of paper because it's not sized and my insert is. So if I didn't make a mark about which piece of paper to be using, I'm pretty sure I would have used the wrong one. And then before I finish up with the stamping, I was going to stick it on first, but I think that we may go over, so I'm just going to stamp a few little hearts in Flirty Flamingo around here. And these little hearts are really cute, but you just need to keep track of them because it's a tiny little stamp, so it is easy to lose. And just, there we go. I think that that's my sentiment done. And now we can start playing. So just, I've given you measurements and you've got your 2 pieces of real red. One is slightly smaller than the other one, so make sure that you've got the right piece. And I'm working on the smaller piece now, okay? The bigger one's what's going to give us our little border over there. So I start with the sentiment piece and position it somewhere that it's kind of in the middle, centrally there, but it doesn't have to be exactly in the middle on the card, so it can be slightly over to one or the other side. Just bearing in mind the size of your hexagons rather, so if it's very much in the middle, then you're going to have 2 half ones that you need to cut out, but wherever you like. And then what I've done is I've punched out 2 of each color of my DSP. Okay, now for this one I'm going to use that side so that we're bringing the red in, but otherwise that side with the gold hearts is also quite cute. And now you just need to play with positioning your hexagons, and I find it easier to just lay them out first and then you can stick them. Okay, now usually sorry, my numbers just went out of my head. Usually 2 of each is enough, 2 of each size, although I can see here I'm going to need to put extra because of where I stuck that. It maybe could have been slightly more over to the one side, but that's okay. We can sort that out. I'm going to put that one there. Can you see what I'm saying is I've got these little bits on the side which are going to need filling in. Alright, so I think that I'm happy with that layout. So now I'm going to stick. And my only consideration here is that I'm actually sticking the hearts, that they're the right way up. I don't want upside down hearts. Trying not to get too much glue where it's going to be hanging over the edges, but we'll sort that out. And again, I'm not going to get it 100%, but just trying to keep the gaps between the hexagons more or less even. I really didn't do a good job with positioning that one, but we'll fill in the gaps, that's alright. I'm going to see whether I can use some of the scraps that I'm going to cut off here, but if I can't, I'll just punch another hexagon. It's really not that big a deal. Now, what do we think about this pink and red color combination? I don't know. It's just a bit bizarre because obviously pink is just red with a bit of white added to it, but I never use pink and red together. Okay, let's just trim the edges. And hopefully I'm trimming straight because my eye's just gone again. I know, we're so tired of me complaining about my eye, but it's going to be going on for as long as it's going to go on for. Eventually it will get sorted, but I'm probably looking at another 2 years before we get there, so sorry, but you're just going to have to listen to me complain for that long. Okay, and right, so now that we've trimmed that, that needs a tiny little bit more off as well. Sorry, I know that I'm just a bit neurotic, but there's just tiny little bits that's still sticking over the edge and I don't want them there. So I think I'm cutting this down a bit, but that's okay. Alright, let's just get that last couple of pieces in and then I'll see. Alright, now that one can go over there. Go. And I need probably a tiny little piece of this color over here, but I don't have one that's going to fit at the right angle, so let me find where I hid my punch. That's crazy. It's not like I didn't just have it in my hand 2 seconds ago. It's over here. And I'm just going to punch a hole one because I'm to see which way it's going to fit. We just need that tiny little corner over there. Alright, so everyone's going to be slightly different depending on where you've positioned things, and that's okay. So you just need to play around with it and see where things are fitting in and where they need to go. And then we can just trim the edges off. Sorry about that, I just whacked the camera. And now we're going to glue this onto my next real red layer. So I don't often do this where I'm making a layer on the same color as the layer above, but for this we needed to have that because it definitely needs that little border, and it has to be the same color so that it looks like you've got the continuation in between and on the sides, if that makes any sense. Sometimes what I'm thinking in my head doesn't translate very well when it comes out my mouth. Okay, then I'm taking my card base, which is my Flirty Flamingo, and we're going to just stick that on top. doing my favorite thing on the insert again. I'm going to put a strip of designer series paper along the very bottom of my insert. I think for the next little while this is going to be my sort of signature insert of cards because I just love the look of it. And oops, okay, that was my mouse falling. And just a very narrow strip of the same color as the base card. So it's really simple, but I've had a lot of people look at it and go, oh, you know, it looks like you've actually stuck it with a gap in the middle, so it makes you look even cleverer, particularly if you've got it straight, that you did something really fancy going on there. Okay, so I'll stick that on the inside. See if I can. There we go. Okay, and there's our Valentine's Day version. So I don't know, what do you think? It may not be my most go-to, but it doesn't look too bad with the pink and the red. Alright, so there are the other ones. Here we go. Here's my last one, the flat and airy. So there you go. You can see I've had lots of fun playing with lots of different colors. So get in there, use up your DSP, because before you know it, we're going to have more. So get rid of some of it so that you've got place for the new ones. Hope you've enjoyed this card. Give it a try. If you make it, please post to my group. I always love to see what colors and what different combinations people use to remake the cards that I've shown them. And have a good week. I will see you next week. Until then, bye.